Is the SEC still the best? Mark Rogers TV ranking the conferences because most of the non-conference games have been played. Yes, the SEC specifically will play 4 against the ACC later this season. The traditional matchups of Georgia, Georgia Tech, etc., and also a game against BYU by Mississippi State traveling to Provo. But most of the games have been played against the Power 5, and it's a good time to evaluate the performance on the field, not the perception, on talent evaluation coming out of high school or going to the NFL, but results on the field against quality competition. So we're ranking the conferences right now based on the results on the field. Now, postseason success coming up, that will most likely trump anything that's happened in the regular season, depending on the status of the game, the college football playoff, and then going down the bowl tiers. All right, the SEC right now against the Power 5 is 6-5. Let's delve into the results because the seedings aren't always fair. When you get to postseason play and play bowl games, the seedings are typically fair. A third-place team will play a third-place team from another conference. But in these games, they're all over the place. So for right now, we've got big wins for the SEC coming by way of Alabama over USC. Yes, USC is probably the 5th or 6th best team in the Pac-12. Bama might be the best team in the nation, not just the SEC, but still the demolition of USC. You've got Texas A&M in a very good ball game over UCLA at home. UCLA probably a top 3 seed in the Pac-12. We will see how the season plays out, but Texas A&M with a good win there in overtime. Arkansas going on the road to take on TCU and win that ball game in overtime. That's a big win for the SEC. TCU may turn out to be the best team in the Big 12. We shall see. Georgia, North Carolina, pretty like-seeded teams in their 2 respective conferences. Georgia probably a 5 or 6 seed in the SEC. We'll see how it plays out. North Carolina more like a 4 seed as the division favorite in the ACC. Tennessee knocked off Virginia Tech as expected. Okay, there were some quality losses. Clemson, Auburn, the Tigers of Clemson or of Auburn keep it close on the Plains by 6 points to the best team in the ACC most likely. Wisconsin, LSU, not a bad loss for the SEC, but an unexpected loss for the conference. The proclaimed number 1 or 2 team at that point preseason, LSU losing to Wisconsin. We'll see how good the Badgers play in the Big Ten against the big boys, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, etc. Florida State, Ole Miss. At the time, it looked like a reasonable loss because, again, a lower-seeded team, most likely in the SEC, losing to what we thought might be the best team in the ACC. That's not proven out, so that's a loss for the SEC right there. West Virginia, Missouri, definitely understandable there. West Virginia is a quality team compared to Missouri, a lower-seeded team. So there are no great wins for the SEC. Nobody's jumped up and just defeated a great team out of another conference like the Big Ten, defeating not great teams, but very quality teams in Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Oregon, and LSU. So the best win for the SEC is probably Texas A&M and UCLA. I would trump that with Arkansas going on the road to defeat a TCU. All right, the bad losses, we know about them. South Alabama defeated Mississippi State by 1. Southern Miss blasted Kentucky in the second half, won that game. There are some near misses that has swayed the perception of the SEC and a possible decline in play in the SEC, with Tennessee almost losing to App State. If Josh Dobbs' fumble in the end zone gets recovered by App State instead, it's a different game, and App State survives overtime against Tennessee, but that didn't happen. Georgia by 2 over Nicholls. Arkansas barely beats Louisiana Tech by 1. Okay, remaining games, the games that we talked about versus the ACC, Florida, Florida State, Kentucky, Louisville, traditional matchups, Georgia, Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson, don't seem to be in favor of the SEC at this point. Again, we'll understand the seedings. The ACC has won more games against the SEC in recent years, but the ACC is not a better conference than the SEC. The higher teams in the ACC, Clemson, Louisville, have played lower-tiered near the bottom seeds in the SEC, meaning South Carolina, Kentucky, etc. Mississippi State's got the game that we talked about against BYU. SEC at 6-5 against the Power 5. No monumental wins, some bad losses, some near misses, 21-7 against out-of-conference competition, including FCS and Group of 5. Number 2 ranked conference, not based on talent, not based on what I think, based on the results on the field thus far this season. But we shall see after the postseason is played if the SEC can reclaim its status right here on Mark Rogers TV.